Kimberly Klacik cut short on The View, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passes away, special guest hip-hop artist icon Okee, and Beethoven is cancel cultured. All that and more on this episode of The Johnny Ray Show. Welcome and thank you for joining me on this episode of The Johnny Ray Show. So, earlier this week on The View, which I don't know how that show is even still on the air, Joy Behar and Sonny Hostin portrayed the exact definition of liberal Fruit Loops. Kimberly Klacik, who you may know is the African-American Republican running for Congress in Baltimore's 7th District, was on The View and was asked about Trump downplaying the coronavirus, and apparently her response was not what Joy wanted to hear, so Joy decided to attack Miss Klacik. Take a look at what happened here.
Kim, I want to ask you about the coronavirus. We heard that tape where President Trump admitted that he wanted to publicly downplay the threat of the pandemic, even though he knew it was spread through the air and was going to be very deadly. Now, we see how the virus is disproportionately affecting the African-American community. Do you think continually downplaying the threat cost lives?
That's a great question. Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I think that, we didn't handle the pandemic as a country great as a whole. This is why I talk about bringing the biotech industry right back through the Baltimore City port. We allowed a lot of jobs and manufacturing to go overseas thanks to NAFTA and the Bill Clinton administration, and that's why he's pulling it back. Had we had that medical equipment industry here, we probably would have been more equipped to better handle the pandemic. Now, you're saying disproportionately affecting black lives. If you look at cities of Baltimore, you've got things called like a food desert. And this is where you're sitting there and they don't have grocery stores. They don't have what they need around them in their neighborhoods. And so, yeah, I believe a coronavirus pandemic would affect us more. I mean, look at my campaign ad. Look at the living conditions. That would affect us more. Absolutely. That's why I'm running for office.
Come on, Kim. Excuse me. I have to say something to you. He told Bob Woodward that it was a very serious issue, and it's airborne, and that it was terrible. And then he went out and told the American people, don't wear masks, it's all going to go away. You have to put some blame on your president. I'm sorry. You're putting it on something extraneous here. Talk to the point, please.
Is this Joy speaking? The same Joy? The same Joy that paraded around in blackface not too long ago? Come on, Joy. I don't think you should be asking these questions. I am an African-American.
Excuse me. The black community had my back. They know that that was not blackface. That was an homage. Oh, please, just answer the question.
The black community has your back? The black community has your back?
They do. Sonny,
the black community did not vote for you. Well, the black community did not vote for you. What planet
It was during
are
a
you
special election.
On?
Sonny, can I speak?
What planet are you living on?
It was during a special election while we were still under lockdown and I could not talk to people. Can I speak, or are you just going to scream over me?
This becomes a big... Listen, Kim, good luck to you. Thanks to Kim Klacik.
That was very immature, but thank you for having me.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Joy Behar was outed some time back for a picture of her portraying blackface in the past. She said it was homage, but NBC back in 2018 fired then-star of her own show, Megyn Kelly, for merely suggesting wearing blackface as homage. So, the left is just making their own rules? Am I correct in this? Lest you think I jest, here's Megyn Kelly simply asking a question about blackface and paying homage while wearing it.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like, back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character. There was a controversy on The Real Housewives of New York with Luann, as she dressed as Diana Ross, and she made her skin look darker than it really is, and people said that that was racist. And I don't know, I thought, like, who doesn't love Diana Ross? She wants to look like Diana Ross for one day. I don't know how, like, that got racist on Halloween. It's not like she's walking around in general.
Now, I think going back to the present and the clip on The View from this week, the most silly, the dumbest, by far, was Meghan McCain. And I know you can't hear her very clearly because of all the shouting and yelling and screaming between Joy and Sunny, but toward the end, Meghan says, "Be polite to Joy." Kim was the most polite out of everyone. She was not the one screaming at the camera like a poltergeist. She wasn't the one spinning around in her chair saying, "Wow." She was simply trying to speak like a decent human being. I mean, I know, decent human being and The View are almost never in the same sentence. But just watch the body language and listen to the tone of voice, and you tell me she was the one being rude. I mean, people are so mentally deficient in 2020. I swear to God. Just, it's truly a disorder. Now, in other news, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away early Friday evening at age 87. She passed away due to complications from metastatic pancreatic cancer. Ginsburg was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Bill Clinton back in 1993 and served 27 years on the Supreme Court. NPR reported Ginsburg's wish was for her successor to be appointed by, quote-unquote, the next president. She said, quote, "My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed." You see, most people hear that, and maybe I'm wrong, but installed? I mean, installed makes it sound, rigged. Again, maybe I'm just crazy, could be, but why installed? Why not say, "I wish to not be replaced until the next president is elected"? Why the word installed? That just sounds fishy to me. I don't know, again, maybe I'm just brain fried from the stupidity on the left, but that sounds rigged. Okay? And if she wanted a Democratic president to replace her, why wouldn't she have stepped down back in the Obama administration when she had first found out, or it was first talked about, her having such health problems with the cancer and all? Why wait until the day you die, knowing that there's a Republican president that could very well replace the Democrat president you wanted to nominate the person to replace you? I mean, that's just me. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm taking crazy pills. I don't know. Anyways, President Trump made the following comments shortly after it was announced that she had passed.
She just died?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually saddened to hear that. I am saddened to hear that.
Now, Ginsburg's passing has set up quite the predicament with the election so close whether or not to vote on a replacement or to wait. In 2016, when Justice Scalia had passed, the Senate refused to vote on a new justice due to the upcoming election. When asked about it, Senate leader Mitch McConnell now said that he would fill the spot left by Ginsburg. And a lot of the left is now calling for riots and arson and things to be burned down if he does call to a vote to replace them. McConnell had defended his decision by saying the reason he denied the vote in 2016 and not now is because the Democrats were in the White House and Republicans had the Senate in 2016, and in 2020 the Republicans are in the White House and the Senate, which tends to make a little bit of sense, you know, to someone with a little bit of common sense. Two brain cells to rub together kind of makes sense. The Democrats would do the exact same thing if their actions over the last 4 years with Trump are any indication. They would have done the same thing, if not more, to ruin any kind of fair decision making. I mean, these are the same Democrats that have said Biden shouldn't concede for any reason. The same Democrats that held a 2.5, I can't even remember how long it was, fake impeachment based on no evidence to try and hijack a duly elected president. Now, of course, Barack Obama, who's for some weird reason the mouthpiece for the Democrats. You know, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here on that. You know, nobody has said it, but I will. Why in the heck is Barack Obama still even talking about politics in 2020? I mean, no other previous president goes out on and speaks on issues. I mean, this guy is out like he's running for president. Is it because his flunky Joe is running, and without him, Joe wouldn't even get votes? I'm going to say yes. I mean, seriously, Joe is a walking corpse. It's like Weekend at Bernie's with Joe Biden out on the campaign trail. If not for Michelle, Hillary, and Barack, nobody would even think Joe was running for president, with the exception of Kamala Harris, and that's because she's got to share a White House with him if people voted for her. At least for 6 months till the Democrats deem him incompetent and then she takes over. But I don't understand why Barack Obama is out campaigning. Like, I get his endorsement. I get, you know, maybe an appearance here or there when he's out doing something, you know, whatever it is that previous presidents do. But you didn't have any previous presidents out campaigning with George W. Bush. I mean, I don't remember any previous Democrat presidents, even when Barack was running, out campaigning for him. Why is Barack Obama still running around talking about political commentary? He needs to go back to Chicago or wherever it is he's living now and just relax. I mean, I don't grasp why, other than the fact that he has to make sure that Joe Biden wins because the other Democrats decided to elect a walking corpse as their Democratic nominee for president. And if Joe Biden doesn't win, then Barack Obama is just like any other past president, and he's kicked to the curbside and left for exclusion of any thought process, truly. Alright, coming up we have a special guest, a hip-hop artist from my home state, so it's going to be great to be able to catch up with him. But before that, if you're watching this on YouTube, please go down, hit the like button, go over and hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click the little bell so that you get all the notifications for every time that I upload a new episode. I do episodes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and special episodes on Saturday as well. In the near future, I am going to start doing a weekly special for YouTube subscribers only, so you want to make sure that you're subscribed so you can get that. It will be uncut, unfiltered, uncensored. It's going to be great. You're not going to want to miss it. Joining me now is a hip-hop artist from my home state, Oklahoma. His name is Icon Okee, and he just recently dropped an album. I listened to it. It's amazing work. He's very talented. How you doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, how much time do you got?
I mean, we can go on for however long you want to. I'm not really in a rush.
Okay. Yeah, I say we just talk, chop it up, and whenever it comes to a conclusion, comes to a conclusion. What you got going on?
Not too much, man. Just hanging out and watching SmackDown.
Okay, all right. I like that. I ain't been a I ain't been a WWE fan in a while. I haven't watched that in a couple years now.
Yeah, I can't blame you.
It got kind of lame after a while, and it was pretty predictable. So I kind of lost my interest in it.
Yep, that's all Vince McMahon right there.
Yep.
He's the one that drove you away.
Yeah, if he would just turn it over, I think he would. I think it'd be saved a little bit if the younger generation kind of could take it over. You know, I know Triple H and Stephanie and them, they got big ideas and they've helped out a lot. I think they could actually run it a lot better now.
Right, absolutely. Like he infiltrated NXT, and NXT was great before he got his hands on it. So.
Oh yeah, and it's NXT is actually, it surprised me at how much it's came up. You know, as far as the talent that they brought in, I enjoy more of the talent from NXT than I did WWE.
Right.
So I listened to the album that you dropped. If you want to tell everybody kind of what it's about and the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, so the album is called High Conflict, and it's roughly around 20 minutes long. I wasn't really focused on it being very artsy or anything like that, as opposed to the previous albums. It's a standalone project that has nothing to do with the previous albums, and it's just totally political. And it focuses on pretty much nationalism versus globalism, and why I am anti-globalist, and I think the globalists are scum. So it's very direct, and the content's very heavy, and I've been called radical for it, and people have said that it's anti-government, which I don't really understand, because it's not. If anything, it's pro-Constitution, and the Constitution is the foundation of the country. So.
Yeah, when I listened to it, I was expecting. I think when I listened to it, I mean, I know kind of your history as far as how you lean politically, you know, from Facebook and stuff. But I think when I listened to it, I was expecting how music is today when they say, "Oh yeah, it's political," and it's like 3 lines are political, and then the rest is, you know, guns, drugs, and prostitution, you know. So I think I was really shocked when I listened to it, because I mean the first song out of the gate, let me pull it up so I'm giving the correct names and everything on these, because I don't want to you know, give the wrong information. But the first song right out of the gate was it just immediately, I think it was, if I remember right, it was the Second Amendment one, if I remember right.
You know, I don't know what's up with these platforms, because they just randomize my tracks sometimes, and people are like, well, I didn't hear it in the order that
it was the Big Brother. Big Brother okay, was the first track that it plays when you go to the Spotify, and it just immediately, I was like, okay, this is political. This is very political. This is not just a couple of lines on a Lil Wayne song, and then people, oh, he's so political. No, you know, this was very, it was all almost. I don't think there was one song on here that didn't have politics as about 90% of the song.
Oh yeah, I mean, just between me and you. Well, I guess it's not just between me and you, because this is going to be aired. But I had fallen back from music. Like, I didn't announce it because I'm not one of those that wants to announce if I'm going to retire, but
yeah, I
was really just, if anything, you know, vacationing for at least a few years was my plan.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't going to make any more music, but I didn't want to make music. I didn't want to make this album. I didn't want to. I had to. I had to say something, because the times that we're in are so serious that I just had to put it out there, like where I stand, how I feel. And that's why it's so short, and it's only 7 tracks, and it's only an EP, because I really didn't want anything to do with music. I just felt like I needed to put something out there.
And I think that is probably the best music, is the music that you didn't want to make, but you had to make it. That drive of, man, I don't want to go in the studio, but you have to. You feel it pulling to you. And I think that if you look back at the history not so much the last, like, 10 years, because really everybody sucked in the last 10 years, if you ask me. But, like, you know, old school, for me, I'm 33 years old almost. The old school, the original Eminem album, the Dr. Dre albums, stuff like that. Those were albums that they all didn't care to make. They felt like they needed to. And I think that's what produces the best music in any genre, whether it's hip-hop or country or, you know, jazz, I guess. I don't know if they have really inspiration for jazz, but...
Well, that makes sense. I mean, hip-hop as a culture, I mean, a culture is essentially just a belief system. It's a set of beliefs. The hip-hop culture shifted, and it's no longer the belief system that I once subscribed to.
Yeah.
So I don't even consider myself to be hip-hop or to be in the rap category. I mean, I don't even know what you would call me at this point. Yeah, I'm rapping, but that's really it, like, when it comes to it being categorized as rap, because everything else that comes with it, I'm not with all that. Like, their whole line of thinking is like some hive mind shit, and I just...
Well, that's, I think, what drove me out of doing music. See, I used to do music, and I did music from 1991 area to about 2008, 2009, 2010, I think, was the last time that I put anything out of any substance. And that's really what drove me away, was the fact that hip-hop was turning from hip-hop to just, like, trash. Nobody wanted to listen to the good hip-hop. They wanted to listen to, you know, 6ix9ine and Yachty and Broccoli and Carrots and Potatoes or something. I don't know what half of these people's names are. They've all got weird names nowadays. But I think that's what drove me away from doing music, and I haven't done music in a decade at this point.
Yeah, it's well, I call it the Hollyweird effect. You know, it swallows everything whole. If you don't bow down to Hollyweird's liberal ideologies, then you're censored, you're banned, you're quote-unquote canceled. You have to bow down to a certain way of thinking, and if you don't, then you're not going to be heard.
You're on your own. You're basically on your own, and if you don't do it yourself, then you're in an abyss.
Yep, that's it.
And matter of fact, I have another friend that he's still doing music. He's actually one of the main influences that got me into music, and Stoney Potson. Shout out to Stoney. He'll hear this and probably freak out, but he does rap battles all over the place. I mean, he's always traveling doing rap battles, and we were talking the other day, and out of all the people that he knows through these battles, he knows 2 people in the battle scene, music scene right now that are conservative. Everybody else is anti-Trump, liberal, you know, haters of anything constitutional, I guess.
I believe it. I mean, you have to remember the media is controlled by the same groups of people.
Exactly.
And they just brainwash and condition everybody, and they even had me going there for a while. But the thing was, you know, I thought that Trump was just another blue blood Republican idiot that was going to do whatever he was told. And that's why I went on record and called him a puppet and told Ivanka to suck it. And now I'm voting for Trump.
Well, see, and I was the exact opposite of that. I was thinking that he was a Democrat in disguise because of the fact that he was a Democrat all the way up until about 6 years ago. And so when I saw him running as a Republican, I thought, my first thought was he's just running for publicity. He wants to get viewers for The Apprentice or to buy a new book or to watch a new TV show that he's going to be on, you know. And I thought when he actually fully ran and started winning, I was like, man, this is going to be a bad day for America because we're going to have a Republican that's actually a Democrat, because he was pro-choice. He was not very vocal on the Second Amendment. He was fairly liberal with just about everything that he stood for. And so I thought, man, that's the first thing that's going to happen. He's going to get in office, and then everything's going to be liberal policies that he's pushing. And I've actually 110% turned my opinion on that, because he has done more for the conservative side than any president in the last probably 100 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. I had to look further into what he's done, and because I was just of this whole mindset, that I just didn't want anything to do with him, period. And that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because then you become susceptible to this whole hive mind thinking that everybody is falling victim to right now. And like whenever I went off on him on the previous album, not this last one, but the one before it, and I said what I said about him, well, first of all, I told Ivanka to suck it because she called for stricter background checks and red flag laws. That's a no-no with me.
Yeah.
Then I called Trump a puppet because of the bump stock ban, the Patriot Act extension, FISA. I'm a rational man. I'm a logistician, but I'm going to call it how I see it, and these are still major issues that I have with him. But you know what? Those flaws right there are a hell of a lot better than globalism. And I will take that 10 times out of 10 over the other.
I would much rather have a couple of laws that I disagree with than to have China own us. And that's, I think, honestly, if Hillary had, for some weird reason, won in 2016, I do believe by now China would have owned us. I believe Iran probably would have had a piece of us. I think she would have sold us out for the first terrorist group that offered money to her.
Oh, easily. And, I also had a change of heart about him whenever he did not hit the little red button immediately and declare martial law. Because everybody wants to call him a dictator. Okay, well, a dictator doesn't do something like completely leave it up to everyone else. He left it up to the states as to what to do in this whole scenario.
And that's what cracks me up is these people, they say, he's a tyrant, he's a Nazi, he's a Hitler, he's a dictator. But he's literally not made any decisions when it comes to even the last 4 months with the COVID thing, 5 months, whatever it's been now. And he could have very easily, if he was a dictator like everybody says he is, he could have very easily have just said, okay, that's it, I'm taking over, I don't need anybody else's opinions. But he didn't. He left it up to governors and mayors to do whether or not they wanted lockdowns, whether or not they wanted mask mandates, whether or not they wanted this, whether or not they wanted that. I don't understand how that could be construed as dictatorial.
Right, and Hillary would have hit the little red button as soon as she had the chance.
Oh, yeah.
She's got an itchy trigger finger when it comes to that.
She's got 42 people that she's been associated with that just so happened to kill themselves. So I'm pretty sure she's pretty good with hitting buttons.
Oh, yeah. No, she would have had a militarized UN boot on every corner out here.
Yep. She would have had the military running the country according to what she wanted.
Right, and I mean, this isn't like we're just sitting here making this up. She's literally went on record to say that she would have put in these national orders, these national lockdown, shutdown, and draconian measures. She would have federalized it. That's literally martial law.
And that's what it cracks me up, because Joe Biden has been on record saying if he's president, he would mandate that every person in America wear a mask. Every person.
And
you might as well put a little star on our chest too while you're at it, because that's exactly what it is.
It's so funny because the guy is just, well, I mean, Trump says he's shot. He is. He's so shot that he said that, and then he turned around and he said, well, we can't do a national mask mandate. That's unconstitutional. And then he turned around and said that he believes he has, I forgot exactly what the wording was, but then he basically turned around and said that he could do it.
Yeah, he said that there are laws that he could pass to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, are you people... And there are people that are still vying for him to win. I don't understand how he's going to get a single vote, let alone enough to win the presidency at this point.
So the guy just literally told you that it's unconstitutional, but he's going to do it anyway.
And people are like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to get crazy.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what? I foresee the same thing happening because history repeats itself. Abraham Lincoln won both the popular and electoral vote. And we had states secede after he won.
Yep.
same thing is going to happen now. They're going to try to steal it, and when they can't steal it, then these blue states are going to start seceding, and it's going to cause a civil war. But they're trying to stir up a race war first.
Yes.
That's what they're doing right now. So it goes race war, civil war, then world war. That's their entire plan.
What I foresee to happen, there are two ways about it, in my opinion, on what could possibly happen. Either Donald Trump is going to win in a landslide, like I'm hoping happens, what looks to be that could happen, and the left is going to start the Civil War outright. Or they're going to announce Donald Trump as the winner, and then about 2 days after, they're going to start saying, oh, well, we got these mail-in ballots and this, that, and the other, and they're going to push it off, and about December, they're going to announce that the numbers were wrong, Joe Biden won. Joe Biden will then be inaugurated, and I think that the right at that point is going to start the Civil War. Because they're going to know it is rigged, and he did not actually win, and they're not going to stand for the left pulling the wool over everybody's eyes.
Absolutely. Either way. Like, yep. They're trying to have it to where either way there will be a civil war.
And it's like you said, it's gonna start out as a race war because they are pushing the all white cops are racist agenda a bit too much. I know that they do it every 4 years, but this year it seems to have went further than any other year that they've done it. It's getting to the point where it is causing a lot of friction between the black and African American communities and the white Caucasian communities.
Absolutely. And, I think another thing, before I get off into that, people are forgetting that the way it's set up, if they are unable to declare a winner for the presidency in time, then Nancy Pelosi becomes interim president.
Yeah, and I think that's probably absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah, I agree. Because she's going to go in there and do all kinds of unconstitutional, just whatever. Everything. She's going to obliterate it.
Yeah,
she have no rights.
She has never been one to care about the Constitution. I mean, this is the lady that ripped up the State of the Union address right in front of a live group of Congress and senators and on national television with half of America watching, and gave 0 F's about it. So I don't think she's and lock down the entire city that she runs, but she's able to go out and get her hair blown out without a mask, and then claim setup. I don't know how ridiculously stupid she thinks everybody is, but
yeah, I would have preferred that they didn't blow her hair out, but they blew something else out. But yeah, no. As far as the race baiting, well, see, this is just how much of experts they are. First of all, the BLM fist, the logo that they use is the same fist from the CCCP. It's the same exact logo.
Yep.
And that's not by coincidence. I mean, do you think the organization unknowingly adopted the clenched fist of communism for their logo? These people are out here fighting to overthrow American capitalism.
Well, it's a well-known fact that the two ladies that started the BLM movement are Marxists. They've actually said it on record that they are trained Marxists. So, yeah, it's very not coincidental. It was very on purpose.
So if you think about it, they're going out here fighting to overthrow American capitalism just to turn around and go back to their air-conditioned home that they have because of American capitalism.
Because of capitalism, yep.
There's people carrying communist flags in their protests, carrying Antifa flags. There's nothing pro-black about that. That's number one, which makes sense because BLM is actually overwhelmingly white. It's a total scam.
It is a white knight organization. That's what it is. It's formed of a bunch of liberal soy-eating people that I would say more, but I'm trying to be somewhat family friendly.
Right.
that literally have been told that because they're white, they have to go and burn things in the name of black justice. And they believe it. They actually go with it.
But I don't understand that because, first of all, you're looting and vandalizing black-owned businesses openly.
Killing black-owned business owners.
Right. They scream Black Lives Matter, but ignore the black genocide that is abortion. They ignore crime waves like Chicago. They ignore black officers getting killed. 9 unarmed blacks were killed by police last year. So the donations to BLM could easily go to those 9 victims' families, but instead
they go to George Soros and the Democrat nominee.
Absolutely.
It's so humorous to me when people justify, when I ask them, I say, well, okay, what about black police officers? Do their lives not matter? You say Black Lives Matter, and I agree. Black lives matter, white lives matter, Asian lives matter, Latino lives matter. You only agree Black Lives Matter. So what about the black police officers and the black business owners? And they're always, every time their response is, well, they're a part of the white system. I mean, how do you're a part of the white system. Do you not live in white America, as you say? I mean, are you from another country that I don't know about? No, you're not. You're from here. You work here. Well, you don't work here. Most of them don't have jobs. Most of them live in the basement of their parents' homes. But we're all part of the white system, if you want to get technical. I mean, I don't grasp it.
There's so much wrong with this. So, first of all, you hate the police so much, you want to globalize police force. That's number one. Number two, how are you going to throw a fist in the air for black power while wearing a mask? When a mask symbolizes slavery, it symbolizes submission to the New World Order. That's not black power. You're giving the system even more power. So let me get this straight. One day the virus has superpowers and targets black people disproportionately, and then the next day the virus skips BLM and targets Trump supporters. So which one is it?
Exactly.
It can't be both. I'll tell you which one it is. It's neither.
It's neither.
They're creating narratives out of thin air. You want to throw up a fist.
It's so funny that they, in a matter of, and it wasn't even months, it was weeks, a matter of weeks, this virus went from really nothing to the flu, to a little bit worse than the flu, to now it is a sentient being that can dictate whether or not it's a BLM riot or a Trump rally, whether you're going to school or whether you're going out to rob and loot something. I didn't realize that viruses had that kind of power, but they do. Apparently this one is all-knowing. This virus is God, apparently.
Yeah, the almighty COVID. Yeah, well, so now that we know that, I mean, you have to know that it's a farce after all that, because 1 and 1 doesn't make 3, but that's Big Brother for you. They hold 4 fingers in your face and make you say it's 5.
Yep.
But, so they want to throw up a fist for black power when they're willing to trade their liberties that we fought so hard for, that our ancestors fought so hard for. They're willing to trade our liberties for quote-unquote safety? Safety from the very corrupt system that they hate?
That you're protesting. You want the government that you're protesting to protect you. How does that work?
Ain't nothing black power about that. BLM is supported by hundreds of corporations. How is that fighting the system? They literally are the system. They have billionaire backing. If BLM vandalizes your business and you paint over it, you can be charged with a hate crime.
Mm-hmm. They actually charged a lady in New York for painting over the BLM on the street.
So that's just a little piece of the globalist system for you. That's just a little preview. The Constitution is liberation. Globalism is slavery. So you want to burn the Constitution and usher in globalism. That's the most anti-black thing you could do. The Constitution freed my people from bondage, and here they are trying to put us back in it. Not just us, they're trying to put us all in it.
Everybody.
They're trying to make us all slaves, because everybody's slaves under communism.
I guess that the way you described it, I think that's about the only equality that they're actually fighting for. Because that's the only thing equal that is in their plans, is for everybody to equally be slaves.
Well, you know, they saw race relations getting better, and they had to pull another 4-year surprise out of their asses to try to manipulate black people again.
Yep.
Because black lives only matter when they need your vote. We've been here before. You know, if Democrats really cared, then they would have done something instead of using it to run on it every 4 years. And they use it to run on it every 4 years because they never do anything about it. If they did something, they wouldn't have anything to run on.
My biggest question to any of the Black Lives Matter and the protesting people is if Democrats, how come Barack Obama didn't change? If there's so much injustice, so much systemic injustice to the African American people, why didn't Barack Obama do anything about it?
Because he's globalist scum. You know, I started out rooting for Obama, just like everybody else, but the veil is lifted from over my eyes. So as soon as I see them doing something that is a red flag that aligns with globalism, then the gloves are off. And I remember getting all kinds of people on my back for coming out and dissing Obama on one of my albums a long time ago. I believe it was 2011. And they're like, well, why are you doing that? You know, this is why Obama was the perfect puppet, because if you're white, you couldn't say anything about him or you're racist.
Exactly.
If you're black, you couldn't say anything about him or you're a sellout. And you couldn't call Michelle a tranny or you're a homophobe. So, oh yeah, and you couldn't call him a Muslim or you're Islamophobe.
Yep.
He was untouchable. He got away with the most corruption that we've probably ever seen a president get away with.
There is a lot of corruption that has been covered up over that 8 years that he was in office, that they're slowly bringing out little pieces here and there, and once it all comes to light, it's going to be very, very bad. I hope people will see. I don't think they will. I think it's, you know, it's always going to be the left is gonna hold him up on a pedestal. He's the golden boy. But it's just like you said, he's almost untouchable. If I say something about him, I'm automatically a racist because I didn't want a black president. When really, in 2008, when he 2007, when he was running, I actually was going to vote for him. And I ended up not voting at all because I found out that I was registered like 200 miles away from where I was living, and I wasn't about driving, and I don't do the mail-in ballot and all that stuff. I think that stuff's all phony. So,
but if you were to vote, you would have voted for him.
If I was going to vote, and which I had planned on voting up to the day of, you know, a couple days before election, I was going to vote for him because I heard what he had to say, and I was like, you know, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a black leader that can unify the races and stop all the BS of well, you're a racist and you're not a racist and we can't be racist and all this. Maybe that's what we need. And then about 6 or 8 months into his presidency, I realized it was nothing what he promised. It was, I mean, I know politicians lie. It's a prerequisite to be a politician that you have to lie. It's almost like an attorney. But I knew that his lies were far bigger than most political lies lie.
Absolutely. All looks and no substance.
Exactly. I mean, he at 6 months into his presidency, he was wanting to ban guns altogether. I mean, and I'm sorry, I will never support a president that wants to take away my guns. You want to limit things, you want to put in harsh background checks. I can almost deal with stuff like that because I don't have anything to worry about personally, and I can understand not wanting somebody that's mentally handicapped or has any kind of disabilities to be able to get a gun because that's how you have accidents. But when you start talking about, I want to take away magazine sizes, I want to take away butt stocks, that's where I'm like, man, I'm not a fan of that because that's digging into my constitutional right as an American citizen.
Well, on the point of gun control, first of all, gun control is racist and sexist. So if anybody wants to talk about systemic racism, you need to point the finger at the real systemic racism, which is the Democratic Party as a whole, with things like abortion, which is black genocide, and gun control, which targets minorities. Look at Mike Bloomberg, who had stop and frisk. Mm-hmm. He was caught saying that it was racially driven.
It was racially driven to the black community.
As far as just taking the guns, that's globalist. Yeah. They want a
well, they want a society that doesn't have a way to defend themselves. That's exactly. Number one. You can't defend yourself with a rock and a stick. I'm sorry.
Right. So, I mean, me personally, I am pro Wild West. Like I'm not for all these measures. Like they do nothing. The most mass shootings occur in gun-free zones because nobody can defend themselves because they're not armed.
Yep.
So that should tell you all you need to know right there. So as far as Trump, I'm just going to do a little comparison here with Obama. The best way to describe this right now and my reasoning for voting for Trump is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So he and I share a common enemy, which is globalism. I heard him stand in front of the UN and tell them there's no room for globalism in America. I 100% agree with that. The Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, and Council on Foreign Relations all want globalism. Everything is under their little umbrella. Trump is not a CFR candidate, a Council on Foreign Relations candidate. Hillary was a CFR candidate. Obama was, McCain was, Bush, Bill Clinton, all CFR candidates. It was not until the 2016 election that the CFR couldn't prevail. And Jeffrey Epstein had been, up until 2009, a member and a donor of both the CFR and the Trilateral Commission. So none of these groups controlled Trump. They simply allowed him in office because of his blood. The same thing goes for some other Republicans. And that's where you get your idiotic blue blood Republicans that just do things for money. So you have, we all know that both parties are corrupt in a way, but the Democratic Party is completely corrupted to a T now. They have totally sold out the country.
Yeah.
You still have some good in the Republican Party, such as Trump now. Kristi Noem, she's the greatest governor in all the land. Deanna Lorraine, Laura Loomer, just to name a few, you've got some there. You have some dignity still there in the midst of all this corruption. But you need that there in order to drain the swamp. He can't do it by himself.
Yeah. And honestly, looking back, I didn't really get heavy into politics until about 2010, 2011 area. And looking back, I don't believe that the United States has had a truly Republican president, a good Republican president, since Reagan. Because both Bushes were very liberal conservatives. They both were. And that's why Hillary could stand them. She could tolerate them. The left could tolerate them. Because they were very liberal on their policies. They were liberal on their outlook. And of course, then you have Clinton and Obama, which were Clinton not so much. Clinton was he was way more moderate than even Obama was. They've gotten progressively far left since Obama, and they've went so far left now that they're falling off the map at this point.
Well, that's the only progressive thing about them is they just progressively get further left. But I have a problem with Reagan, and that was his gun control measures. Did not like that one bit. The Mulford Act.
Yeah, he did have a bit of the 2A that I didn't care for so much, but I think that comes from the California in him. I think that it was kind of ingrained in him from, running California and kind of how California almost has to be. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he ran California, he was very liberal about guns and gun control, because if not, he would have been killed. California, I don't think will ever come off of the anti-gun sentiment.
California, I call it Commifornia, because it's a whole ass communist state.
Yeah, it's perfect irony that Hollywood is there too, because it's gotten so bad in Hollywood that you got actors that are afraid to even say a good thing about Trump, because then they get blacklisted, they get cancel cultured. It's almost like the Underground Railroad in Hollywood to be conservative.
Right. But back to my point about Trump and Obama really quick. We can no longer say that we don't have a seat at the table. Obama was the table for 8 years, and he did nothing. I'm talking about my people, black people. We cannot sit here and say that we don't have a seat at the table. He was the table for 8 years.
Yep.
He was not. In my opinion, he was not the first black president. He was the first gay president, because the only thing he did was confuse everybody on which restroom to use.
Yep.
So you have him making all these promises didn't deliver. But, you know, that's typical. But we have Trump over here who didn't promise us anything, but is delivering like nobody since Lincoln. Honestly, he passed the First Step Act that reversed the racist 94 crime bill, which Biden helped write, by the way. He funded HBCUs the most, had the lowest black, Latino, Asian unemployment rate ever, lowest women's unemployment in 65 years, just to throw that in there. He had all black summits at the White House, and all black roundtable on race relations. What more do you want? He's doing police reform.
And that's the perfect question that I have yet to hear a liberal black person answer, is what more do you want?
I'll tell you what they want. They want reparations, but you don't ask Trump for that. How about you ask the party of the KKK, Jim Crow, and slavery? How about you ask the Democrats for your reparations? If you want reparations that bad, you go ask them. Don't ask anybody else. Don't run around out here asking white people for reparations.
Yeah. You need to ask the people that put your people behind the power curve. I mean, the South was almost entirely Democratic when slavery was happening.
Right, so you're literally siding with the KKK and asking everybody else for reparations. What sense does that make? I mean, everything has been flipped on its head, but see, it makes sense because that's what Satan does. He inverts reality.
Yep.
That's why the media is satanic. They give you this false vision of what's really happening out here.
They have to, and there's Democrats who've actually on record stated that they wanted to keep black people. They take the black people's vote for granted, and then black people still go along with it. It's like, I don't understand how you cannot see what is right in front of you, and you're absolutely right. The devil is very good in disguise.
Let me tell you something. When black people overwhelmingly voted Democrat, Malcolm X called them chumps. He called them political chumps.
Yep.
And Malcolm X also said that a ballot is like a bullet. You don't throw your ballot until you see a target. And if that target is not within your reach, you keep your ballot in your pocket.
Yep.
So what is the target right now? The target is within reach, and the target is keeping America sovereign. Because Biden will sell us to the UN. The Constitution will be no more. We will have no more rights as Americans because there will be no more America. It'll just be globalism, a one-world government. And people kill me with this, well, what's so bad about a one-world government? Well, okay, a one-world government means a one-world religion. That's no more freedom of religion. You can't worship who you want to. A one-world currency, a digital currency, so the government can cut your wallet off at any time you say or do anything they don't like. It's a total worldwide dystopia. Transhumanism, merging humans with AI, so you can be controlled like a machine. It's total authoritarian control. No more liberty, no more freedom. That's what's so bad about it. So what's so appalling to me is how people claim to hate slavery and slave owners so much, yet they're voting to enslave the entire human race.
Yep. They're voting for worldwide slavery. And the only people that won't be slaves are the rich and powerful leaders that are the United Nations.
Right. Whenever you kick that ladder out from between the bottom and the top, the ladder that is American capitalism that allows you to work your way up and be something, whenever you get rid of the middle class as a whole, it's over.
Yep.
It's over, because all you have down here is just crabs in a bucket, and then you got all the monopolies at the top running everything.
Telling you what you can and can't do.
It's like Bernie Sanders said, you should only be able to choose between three deodorants. So you're telling me that I wouldn't be able to own my own deodorant company if I wanted to make one? No, because there's already too many deodorants out there already.
Yep.
Well, actually, you can't own anything because everything becomes public property of the government.
Property of the government. The government owns it.
Listen, I'm a black business owner. Anybody who's pro-black cannot be a Marxist. For one, Karl Marx was a racist.
Yeah.
For two, under Marxism, you can't own your own black business, idiot. You can't have another Black Wall Street under Marxism. That's not how this works.
Capitalism is what gave Black Wall Street the ability to exist.
Exactly.
Without capitalism, that would have never happened. It would have never been. It would have been a pipe dream.
You said it.
It's crazy, and it's like you said. It's funny how everybody in general is so wrapped up in racist, the quote unquote, which I feel like that has lost all meaning over the last 10 years.
Let me tell you something.
You can't even say racist anymore and it even mean anything because they use it so much that it has zero meaning now.
As far as I'm concerned, Jesus ended the debate over whose lives matter 2,000 years ago.
When he died on the cross for all people.
But see, if you ask the Democrats, they don't believe in God. They want to take under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well,
go figure.
They cut it out of the DNC when they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance
right.
on the first night. They cut it out.
Right.
They didn't even say it.
Right.
And that should go to show what type of people they are.
Yep. Satanists. They are just out here in your face, blatantly telling you, we don't believe in God, we believe in Satan. Hail Satan, we are communists, we're going to take your rights away. What are civil rights anyway? It's human rights.
Yeah, it would be human rights, not civil.
We have human rights. So they want to get rid of everyone's human rights.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Karl Marx being a racist. They are out here, everybody is out here with this, we don't like racism, we're fighting against racism, but they're all fighting for two things right now that were started by racists, and that's the Marx system and abortion. They want the right for abortion, but that was started by a racist white woman who started it for genocide of the black community, to populate, control the black community.
That's right. Well, they want to say my body, my choice, but just not whenever you don't want to wear a mask. It's not your body, your choice. But you know what? I suppose that you have 20 fingers, 20 toes, 2 heads. So yeah,
and
sure.
And if you have a boy, you have a penis now. I don't grasp. I've lost so many IQ points debating pro-choice versus pro-life over the last couple of years that I know exactly the argument that everybody is going to bring, and I already have a counterpoint to it every time. It's to the point where I've been blocked so many times on Facebook from people that can't take a fact and just say, okay, you're absolutely right. It's ridiculous.
Facebook is a cesspool of leftism.
Leftism and stupidity.
It's like they don't even, like, everybody on there thinks they're so woke, but that's the problem. You're woke, you're not awake.
Yep.
And I had an issue with this whenever they started the whole woke trend.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately said, oh, well, this is some garbage. This isn't real. You can't just take knowing information and doing research and make that something like, oh, yeah, I'm cool, I'm hip because I read one article.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, first of all, what are your sources? What is the article from? What is the New York Times? I mean, I could wipe my ass with that paper.
Exactly. New York Times, a CNN article, MSNBC article, even Fox. I refuse to use Fox as a cited source because they are more right-leaning. I want to compare actual fact. I want statistics that are fact. I don't want somebody's opinion on some BS. I don't want your opinion on abortion. I want a fact on abortion, and the fact is that millions of black children are aborted every year over white children, over even Latino children. And if that doesn't tell you population control, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
When you have a Planned Parenthood on almost every corner in a black community and none in a white community, that should tell you something.
There's your racist corporation right there.
Yeah, you want to talk about systemic racism, that's your systemic racism. If you really want to get down to brass tacks, there's 2 or 3 systemic racism things in this country, and all of them are what the black people are voting for.
Exactly. That's why I'm so frustrated. I can't have a conversation with these people. It's like they've been possessed. It's like they're demon possessed. And whenever they hear truth, they just start going berserk. It's like a demon hearing the name Jesus.
Yep.
Going berserk. And you're right. As far as Fox News, yeah. Well, I mean, Nas called them Sly Fox. That is what they are. I mean, they're under the same Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg, CFR umbrella as the rest of them.
Yeah. I take Fox News with a grain of salt, and I take CNN with some laughing gas. Because while Fox News leans right, at the very least, they are somewhat impartial on most things. Whereas CNN will legitimately run an article that I shit you not, they ran an article a couple of months ago in June when Minneapolis defunded their police department, and then a week ago ran another article asking where the police are. Probably at home because you took away their money and fired everybody.
Let me say something about this defunding the police crap. Defund the police, right? But you want to turn around and call the police when somebody did something to you or your family?
Yep.
You say abolish the police, but want a whole-ass police state to enforce draconian lockdown orders and shutdown orders and mask mandates and all this other authoritarian garbage. Make up your mind. Do you want to burn down the police department or call the police on me for not wearing a mask?
Yep. It's funny because a lot of people, when the Kyle Rittenhouse thing happened in Kenosha, a lot of people pointed it out. You just talked about defunding the police the night before, and now 2 people or 3 people get shot and 2 people die, and they're screaming, "Call the cops! Call the cops! Call the cops!" Which one do you want? Do you want us to call the cops, or do you want to defund the cops? Because you're arguing for both now.
As far as Rittenhouse, this is all I got to say about that. The militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males, at least 17 years of age, and except as provided in Section 313 of Title 32, under 45 years of age, who are or who have made a declaration of intention to become citizens of the United States. Is Mr. Rittenhouse a United States citizen?
Why, yes, he was.
Facts don't care about your feelings. But if these people want to burn the Constitution and abolish police, what does it matter how old he is anyway?
Exactly. My thing is you, and this was a perfect example of why gun control doesn't work. They all scream they want gun control, gun control, gun control. Technically, by legal standards of the law, he was under the age to own an assault rifle. So, gun control would have worked on him anyway, correct?
Well, I mean, first of all, it wasn't an assault rifle because it wasn't a fully auto.
Yeah,
but
what they call an assault rifle.
Yeah, they still think that AR stands for assault rifle. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It stands for Armalite.
Yeah, it cracks me up when anybody says, an assault rifle 15. No, that's an Armalite rifle 15. That's the AR. That's what AR stands for. Anything is an assault weapon. That's why when they say they want to ban assault weapons, it cracks me up because you're going to ban hammers. You're going to ban butter knives.
I can pick up a rock and hit you in the face with it.
That's an assault
weapon.
with a weapon. That is an assault with a weapon. So that's an assault weapon. You're gonna literally ban everything. No cars, no shopping carts, no bags of rocks, no butter knives, no forks, no spoons, because you can assault somebody with any of those things.
Yeah, and if you ban the knife that I cut my steak with, then I can use the steak to slap you in the face with.
Exactly.
And I just assaulted you with a steak. Now you're going to ban steaks? Like, come on.
And now you're going to have to cut everybody's hands and feet off because I can use my hands to assault you as a weapon.
Right. If you take my steak away, I still have my hands. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So I've never been able to get behind gun control. I've heard people say, well, we just want common sense gun laws. Well, what's common sense, and who is dictating whether or not it's common sense? Because common sense to me is you're an idiot. So
common sense is going and getting yourself a gun and protecting yourself.
Exactly.
That's common sense.
Common sense is, are you able to possess a firearm? Are you able to shoot a firearm safely? Do you know the do's and don'ts of firearm safety? If you do, you have common sense, go get a gun. I'm like you. I believe the Wild West days. I tell my wife all the time, I was born in the wrong world. I should have been born in 1875 or something, when they were riding horses around and stringing up folks for stealing cattle. That's when I should have been in the Billy the Kid days, because I would have been much happier then. Even sleeping out on the ground, I would have been okay with that. Okay, I don't need an adobe hut even. I'll lay out on the ground if you give me my guns and allow me to Wild West justify, protect myself.
Completely agree.
That's how I feel, and I hope that sometime in the near future, and maybe Donald Trump will be my savior for that, somebody will issue a Wild West type of system, because I would definitely second that, and I'd vote for that.
Well, all that is just nationwide constitutional carry.
Yeah, and I honestly think that if they had a nationwide constitution carry, I think that I venture to say, go out on a limb and say about 90% of the mass killings would stop. Because there would be people to protect the people that didn't carry a gun, like they did in the Old West. Women might not have carried a gun, but there was a guy around that he'd smack crap out of somebody and shoot them if they were doing wrong.
Right.
And I honestly think that that's the only way that mass shootings and you know, the big crimes of killings are going to stop, is if you allow every citizen that's legally able to carry a gun, that is mentally competent to own a pistol or a rifle, and let them carry.
Right. I've always said an armed society is a more respectful society. You're not going to walk up to somebody and start jawing off at them knowing that they could blow your brains out at any given moment.
Well, it's funny because my dad, he's like 65. So when me and him, we were at the gun shop about 6 months ago, and I was looking for a good holster. I was like, man, I need a holster. This one's kind of wore out, you know. And I saw a shoulder harness, and I was like, man, I've always wanted to get a shoulder harness. I always liked them, and so I bought it. Paid like $150 for it, leather. And he goes, well, you're going to wear that under a shirt, right? I said, no, I'm going to wear it over a shirt. I have the legal right now in Oklahoma to constitutional carry. Can't nobody tell me different. I just can't go into Walmart because they'll tell me to leave. But I'll carry it out, and I got it on right now. And he goes, well, that's going to invite trouble. That's going to make people want to attack you. I said, nobody's going to attack somebody that's walking around with a gun in the open. Nobody's that stupid. They may be crazy, but they're not stupid. They are not going to attack somebody that they know in a second and a half I could unhook this motherfucker, pull it off, and shoot them. They're not going to attack me. They're going to attack the person that doesn't have a gun because they don't want to get hurt. No criminal wants to get hurt. So they're going to go after the weakest person that they can. And that's not the man carrying a gun under his armpit. It's just not.
Exactly.
And so I don't go into Walmart unless I have a belly holster as well that I do wear when I go to like Walmart or Target somewhere, you know, because while technically I don't think that they can legally tell me I can't come in, but they can ask me to leave because they don't like guns or whatever. So, you know, to avoid that kind of confrontation, I wear the belly holster, and I'll put it in the belly holster, and then you can't even see it. You don't even know it's there. Somebody could stroll up on me, and I'll pull it out, bust them in the face. They wouldn't even know what hit them.
Yeah, those no guns allowed signs hold no weight.
Yeah.
Here
constitutionally, they don't hold anything, but they can ask you to leave, and if you don't, then they can say you're combative, and they can call the cops, and then you get the cops talking to you and all that. So just to avoid that, but any other time, I'll wear it out in the open. I don't care. People give me a lady gave me a dirty look at the convenience store earlier because I got out to throw something away, and she gave me a dirty look. I don't care because I know I'm protected if something happens.
Right.
Because if somebody comes into this store and they start shooting people randomly, I know they ain't going to shoot me unless they show up behind me and I don't hear them, and that's very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably the most pro Second Amendment person almost on the planet. I don't think there should be a ban on any kind of gun. I think that people ask me, well, how pro Second Amendment are you? I think we should be able to buy a tank if we want to. That's how I feel.
100% agree.
If I could afford a jetpack with a Gatling gun on it, I want to be able to own it.
Yep.
That is my thoughts on it. If it is a firearm, I should be able to have it. If the military can have it, I should have it. If I want to buy an F-16 fighter jet with 2 missiles on it, I should be able to have it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people think I'm joking when I say it. No, I am very serious. I think that if you are mentally capable to have a firearm, you should be able to have any firearm you want. There should not be a limit. There should not be a ban on automatics. I don't feel that that's accurate. I think that whether it's automatic or not, you're going to kill the same amount of people. I don't care. They've looked at statistics, and statistics prove it, because they banned automatic assault weapons for, what, 15, well, no, longer than that. What was it, 93, 94 when they banned them?
I believe so, yeah.
And here we are, still with mass shootings, multiple mass shootings every year. I think this is the first year we haven't had a mass shooting, and that's because everybody's dying of COVID. So,
so they say.
I mean, I saw it on the news the other day. A guy was walking out of a store, got shot 5 times, died by COVID.
They said George Floyd died from COVID.
Yeah, I'm honestly, if Jacob Blake had died, they'd have called it COVID.
Yes.
The 7 shots just accelerated the COVID. That's all.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. They actually, there was a thing on Facebook, a person had posted that their parent, mom or dad, or both maybe, that had died in a car wreck. And they listed it as COVID on the birth certificate.
Yes.
And Facebook banned sharing it. They actually ceased you being able to share it, because obviously, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, he doesn't want anybody to know facts or truth. No, that can't happen on Facebook.
That's because Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey are both the United Nations bitches.
Yeah, they are. He looks like an eggplant with that head, and he thinks that the bigger the head, the more the knowledge, and it's really the exact opposite. He actually, I've been banned so many times on Facebook, I wake up, and it's kind of like a New Year's countdown when I wake up and go to Facebook to see if I'm going to actually be able to get on, or if I got banned while I was sleeping, because I've been banned so many times. People come to me when they get banned, and they're like, man, I got put in Facebook jail. And I'm like, oh, how long do you have? And they're like, oh, I got 3 days. And I'm like, give it a little while. Wait till you get up to the 30 days every time. I'm 30 days. They've told me on several occasions that the next time could be a final permanent ban. And I'm like, bring it. I can always make another one. It's cool.
I just left the platform, pretty much. I mean, I have the page still up so that people can contact me, but I'm not saying anything on there. And I'm sure people are wondering why the silence. Well, it's because they started locking half of what I posted.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use a platform that's silencing me.
I guarantee you, and my friends have confirmed it, that only about a third of what I post actually is out there in the Facebook sphere. Most of the things I post, it's getting to the point where, see, they've been banning me from saying stuff for a while. They've been throttling me way down to, like I say, about a third of what I post actually gets out there. They've gone so far now that they are actually banning what I send in Messenger now.
Yes.
When I send my shows out to people, and I'll send out like 10 or 15 people, and about 5 or 8 of them will come back and say, this is hate speech, we blocked it from being sent. And all it is a link to the video.
Yeah, they have been blocking people from sharing InfoWars videos.
Yep.
Band.video videos, you know, any of that. So yeah, they shouldn't be offering your private messages. That's number one.
Yeah.
But they openly are now.
Yep.
And they don't care.
And when asked about it, because I actually contacted Facebook, the customer service, if you will. I don't know why they even call it that, because it's not service and there are no customers. I'm not buying nothing from them. But they actually told me that the reason that I can't send is because they have deemed that whatever it is I'm sending is hate speech. And I asked him, first off, I said, define hate speech for me. Oh, it's anything that anybody deems hateful or violent. Okay, none of what I say is ever hateful or violent. I tell the truth, in my opinion.
See, that's the thing with all this censorship. And by the way, Joe Biden is pro-censorship too. He doesn't want you to be able to say faggot, or you'll be fined.
Yeah.
So,
that's the main reason that I get kicked off of Facebook, because I say that not thinking. I say it. And I don't even say it derogatory to gay people. I say it as what a 90s kid growing up, we use that word for. We used it as stupid. That's gay, you know?
That's the thing. You know, got it. This place has just gotten so soft. They think you're joking whenever you say you should be able to own a tank. They're telling you can't say faggot anymore. I mean, just what is this?
Yeah.
You know, this is... basically, reality or parody has become reality.
Yeah,
that's what I've been saying.
Parody has become reality in 2020. You can't a 90s kid. That's why all these millennials are up in arms about hate speech and rhetoric and all this. They didn't grow up in the 90s. In the 90s, we was all hate speech.
But see, who's the arbiter of what is hateful and what isn't? I mean, that's like making Joe Biden the arbiter of who's black and who isn't. So if Joe Biden says, I ain't black because I'm not voting for him, then I guess I'm not black anymore? Like, come on. Get out of here with this. You going to let an old, wrinkly white man tell me I'm not black?
Yeah, it's so funny that they're allowing an old, rich white guy to tell them who they are and are not.
And then you're going to let Mark Zuckerberg tell you what's hateful and what isn't hateful. Like, he's never said anything hateful in his entire life.
Like, I'll bet you back when he was in that college dorm room, before he stole Facebook, because I seen the movie. Mark, you ain't fooling nobody. I seen the movie. I know you stole that stuff. You don't think that he called somebody the F word and meant it in, don't be a faggot? You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
As far as Steve's, since we're on that, I don't know why they're having an admitted rapist thief interview a presidential nominee. I'm talking about Cardi B.
Cardi B, yep. I was gonna get to that because of the hip hop connection you guys seem to share, which ain't very close. What are your thoughts on her saying that she is a political informant, that she knows politics? Do you think that's true?
She knows nothing. All she knows is how to drug, rob, and have men raped.
Yep.
That's what she knows. So.
And the wet ass P word.
Right.
She knows the wet ass P word.
If it's so wet, then how come your husband was so dissatisfied with it that he had to cheat on you? And now you're getting a divorce now because of that. So, yeah.
I'm sure she would tell you, if she were on this call, she would tell you that it's because it was too wet. He didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, if she were on this call, she wouldn't tell me nothing.
Oh man, when I heard her, she told the Hodge twins. I don't know if you know them.
Oh man, they're awesome. I went and seen them live with my mama whenever they came up.
They are the funniest two guys I've seen in a very long time. And she told them that she knows more politics than they do because she pays more taxes than they do.
Okay.
That was her reasoning as to why she knew more politics. And it made me think, and I thought for a second, and then I think it's Keith, he said exactly what I was thinking. Woman, that just means that you made more money than they did. That don't mean you know more. That just means you made more money that year. Like, I don't understand. And she supported Bernie Sanders at first, and that was even funnier than her support of Joe Biden, because Bernie Sanders wants to tax her like 89%.
Yeah.
And she was mad about 47%. So...
Oh, wait a minute. So she's not pro-taxation?
No. She is mad that they took 47% of her income that year. She was mad.
You know what? This is why parody has become reality, and why this is a joke. If you presented both candidates, Trump and Biden, on paper, just their policies without a name on them, then people like her would vote Trump.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I don't understand how any any millionaire or up, I could see why lower and middle class would have concerns on the part of voting for Trump. But statistically, but anybody who has $1 million net worth and up, you would think that they would want to vote every conservative, because conservatives statistically, historically, give breaks to millionaires and up. But yet you've got LeBron James and Colin I got my white privilege to thank Kaepernick, who are anti-Trump as millionaires, getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play a game that most people would play for free, and they're harassing him when he's giving them tax breaks.
LeBron James owns slaves in sweatshops,
yep,
and Colin Kaepernick,
in China.
Colin Kaepernick is a phony. I fell for it at the very beginning, and I quickly realized that it's a bunch of BS. Yep. And he is a Marxist puppet.
It was no more about police brutality than it was about getting attention. Yeah. He wanted attention because he was a third-string quarterback that had nothing going for him, and he wanted attention. He thought attention, like Peyton Manning had or Drew Brees had, he thought that would give him a starting slot on a team. And then no team wanted him because he was a problem child.
Right, but see, this is why the media is so dangerous, because they can even get people like me, who are critical thinkers, who are independent thinkers, into buying into something like that.
Yeah.
Whenever it first began, and they have you hating Trump so much with this blind rage that you will just not hear anything that he says, and that's how they get you.
Yeah. Well, they prove that because they will give a snippet, like the Charlottesville speech when he said
exactly.
The very fine people on both sides.
That was what I called him racist over that.
Really?
And I can sit here and admit to you right now as a man, I was wrong. But you know what? It's okay. You can be wrong about something as long as you admit it.
Yeah. In 2020 though, it's almost like being wrong is ostracized. Like if you are wrong about anything, you can't admit you're wrong, because being wrong makes you human, and nobody wants to be human in 2020 apparently.
Well, you know what? I've been making records for well over 15 years now, and I'm not going to be right about everything I say.
I mean, it's a human characteristic. Nobody's going to be right 100% of the time.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But that's how they got me, was they clipped it. I didn't hear the whole thing, and
all you hear is there are very fine people on both sides, and then they stop it. They didn't play it 5 seconds before when he said, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists." They cut that. They cut that because that wouldn't put it in context that he wasn't talking about them. He was talking about the regular people.
He has said that there's no room for any of that. No room for white supremacy, any of it.
It was proven. A lot of the liberals have said, well, he is yet to condemn neo-Nazis and Nazis and white supremacists and all this. It was proven, it was counted that in 1 year he did it like 80-something times. It got to a point where somebody asked him about it, and he said, "How many times do I have to do this?" And they just ignore every time he said it. They ignore it. It's like it didn't exist.
Listen, as far as statues and monuments and all that, what people got to realize is Hitler had monuments torn down.
Yeah.
And it was to erase history.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted everything that the left is doing in 2020 and 2019.
They are the Nazis.
They did in Nazi Germany before they gassed millions of Jews.
Right. That's why I said in my track, first it was the Jews saying, "I can't breathe."
Yep.
That's exactly why I said that. But yes, I am for leaving these statues and monuments up, because we need to be reminded so we don't repeat history.
See, and that's what I said when it first was going on. And it was funny to me because it went so far so quickly. And I said it before it even happened. I said, eventually it's going to get to the point where they're going to destroy Abraham Lincoln statues who freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. And it went Robert E. Lee, and then it went to the guy up in Michigan, some statue up there, I can't remember which one it was, and then it went Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and it was just like that. And I was like, I told you. I told you you're a stone's throw away. When you let them do it the first time, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Oh my God. Robert E. Lee's not even really synonymous with racism. He's synonymous with private property rights.
He's synonymous because he seceded from the United States because he didn't want the government telling him what he could and couldn't do with his own property.
Right.
Regardless, here's the thing, and it boggles my mind at how people cannot understand that just because something was immoral doesn't mean it wasn't legal, okay? I'm not saying that slavery was a good thing, by no means, but it was legal. At that time, in America, it was legal. So he did nothing wrong other than to say, I don't want the President of the United States to tell me what I can and can't do on my own property.
There's over 40 million slaves worldwide right now of all races.
Yeah.
America was ahead of the curve as far as ending slavery.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to me because they always say that America we're racist, we're transphobic, we're homophobic, we're all these phobias, apparently. But yet, they never talk about Iran, where they today are throwing homosexuals off of roofs to kill them. Because they're homosexual.
Of course not. Well, I mean, they're implementing Sharia law here now with the masks, so...
Yeah. They want us to be what they say we are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it boils down to.
Trump is not a racist. He's a businessman. That's what he is.
I mean, if he is a racist, he's the absolute worst racist in history of racism.
Absolutely.
He's the worst. Because he has done so much, not even just before presidency. I mean, he did a lot. If you notice, you could look back at pictures and videos. He was loved by the black community until he ran as a Republican and won.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's a racist. I mean, there's Mike Tyson, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. He was given the NAACP Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, he is the worst racist in history if he is actually racist.
I mean, if you ask me, the only color he sees is green.
Yeah.
That's what it appears to
and
be.
honestly, that's the only reason that I supported him to begin with, was because I thought a businessman would probably run this country better than a politician, because a businessman is worried about the bottom dollar. He's worried about the company, and the company is the United States of America. And that's what he is worried about. That's why he is the most pro-American president we've had in 2 lifetimes.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what's mind-boggling about Democrats saying, well, a box of rocks could be a better president than Trump. Oh, really? So a box of rocks, which is Joe Biden.
Well, that's why they're running Joe Biden. That's what I was just fixing to say.
Yeah. So a box of rocks would have a better economy than Donald Trump? I mean, like, stop.
Well, it's hilarious to me because they say they gave Obama the credit for the economy before COVID, but then blamed Trump for the economy during COVID. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because Donald Trump was running yeah, you could blame maybe the first year if the economy was really, really good on Obama, because some of his policies were still enacted. But you can't tell me the whole 4 years was Barack Obama and then the last 6 months has been Donald Trump all of a sudden, when Democrats were the ones that shut down the country.
Yep. Well, I mean, they didn't just shut it down. They're trying to burn it down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're literally, as we speak, burning down cities.
You know, it's one thing to go out and, you know, go against a tyrannical government with an actual dictator in place that is taking away your rights and all that. Then it would be justified to go out here and start some shit.
Yeah.
But you're literally going out here and fighting against your own rights.
Mm-hmm. You're fighting for the right of the government to tell you what to do.
Yes.
And that's, I think, you know, subconsciously, I think it's because I think Americans in general would rather be told what to do than to have to worry about thinking about what is best. I think that the majority of Americans would rather be told that. I mean, that's why we have jobs where nobody wants to be the manager. Everybody wants to be the employee, because then people can tell them what to do and they don't have to think about what to do.
Yeah, I'm telling you, everything just went very soft. I mean, hell, me and you included, compared to the Wild West days, we're soft.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, like, everything has gotten soft.
It has. It's gotten so far off of what it used to be as a country from the Wild West days and even civil rights days. You know, I read a statistic somewhere that in the 50s and 60s, something 85% of adult Americans were involved in a bowling league. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, bowling's stupid anyway. But if you think about it, okay, 85% of adult Americans were involved in something that was a group activity that relied on the team to win. America can't win when it's just one person fighting. You got to have the whole team. Just like baseball or football or anything else. One person can't win a game.
It's just an act of unity.
Yeah, and it shows how isolated we've become as a society, that nobody does that anymore. Nobody has groups, and you and me included. I'll bet you, I know me for sure, I have maybe 4 friends, and most of the time I don't see any of them in person. I talk to them on the phone, chat them up on Facebook, you know, on comments, but I don't see friends anymore. We don't go out and hang out like we did in high school 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore, and it just goes to show the isolationist mentality that we've gotten as a society.
That's true, you know, but hell, I'm guilty of it too, because I just don't want to be around people because they're so damn stupid.
Exactly. I lose IQ talking to people, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just sit at home and watch TV at this point.
I mean, it's so hard for me to find like-minded individuals who are even on the same frequency.
Yeah, and you know, that's the last thing that I want to touch on, and I'll let you go, is the like-minded. I've noticed that as a society, we've gotten to the point where we can't have a disagreement and still be friends anymore. I've lost so many friends and family over a disagreement of something as small as, like, voting for Donald Trump. I mean, that's small on a scale of life. That's a small thing. And I've had friends that actually I've known for 20, 30 years that are no longer my friends because of the fact that I support Donald Trump.
Well, right now, as far as that, you know, typically I would say yes, it's a small thing as far as who you're going to vote for, but right now it really isn't.
Well, this year by far is the most important. It is a huge thing this year. Now, back in 2016, it was a very small issue because we didn't know the radical change that the United States was going to go through over 4 years. But, I mean, I had a friend who I went to high school with, and I've known for 15 years. I used to date his sister, that me and him disagreed on whether or not to raise taxes to pay for children's lunches at school. I'm opposed to my taxes going to other children eating, because those children, well, yes, they're children, and we should, you know, support children. I shouldn't have to support your child. I didn't make the decision for you to have a child. You did. You should have to pay for your child, just like I pay for my child. I don't expect a handout for my child to eat lunch at school. I pay for my child's lunch at school.
Yeah, let me guess. He thought you were so cold-hearted for
exactly.
that, right?
You just don't care about children. It's not that I don't care about children. It's that I don't care about paying for your child when you are an able-bodied person that can afford your child. if you couldn't afford your child, you shouldn't have had it.
It's the same thing with what they call, quote-unquote, free health care, universal health care.
Yep.
It's not free.
It
comes out of my taxes.
Somebody's got to pay for it. You can't just print health care off trees.
I've got a very libertarian stance on taxation. Taxation is theft.
Very.
That's the way I view it. And you can have charities to pay for certain things.
Yep.
Okay? If you think that that's such a big issue, then make a charity.
Exactly. Hold a fundraiser. Let the community decide. Do I want to give money for your child? Okay. Fine. That's great.
Yes.
But that's them choosing to. That's not being forced to. I should not be forced to pay money for something just like abortion. I shouldn't have to pay for you to kill a child because you had a drunken one-night stand with Felipe up the block.
Right. That's not a reason for big government. They try to use any reason to make the government bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
They just want a huge one-world government. That's what they look for.
To do everything for them. They want the government to wipe their ass for them. They want the government to bathe them. They want the government to do everything for them.
Well, I asked Bernie's supporters when he was first running this cycle, and he came up with the Medicare for all. I want the Medicare for all and free pudding for everybody. And I asked him, I said, well, where's the money coming from? Well, they're not just going to print money off of, out of thin air. Somebody's got to pay for it. So my question to anybody who's pro healthcare for all, if you are taxed even 70% and you never go to the hospital, where'd your taxes go? They went for that guy down there and that guy over there and that guy up the street to go to the hospital every 2 months because they had a broke finger or a stubbed toe or a kidney infection or whatever. You paid for all their health care. You didn't pay for your own health care.
Yep.
And I shouldn't have to pay for your health care. If I never go to the doctor, I don't go to the doctor. Unless I'm dying, I don't go to the doctor. I'm sorry. I'm anti-doctor for the most part. I'm not paying for everybody else to go to the doctor and me never go.
Yeah.
If they ever did pass Medicare for all for whatever weird reason it happened to pass, I'm going to be at the doctor every day. Doc, I got a cough. Doc, my arm itches. I need pain pills. Because I'm going to get my Medicare pay out of it. You're going to tax me 70%. I'm going to get 70% of that Medicare on me.
That's the problem with Canada's healthcare system.
Oh,
it's always packed. You can't get in.
Well, Steven Crowder, he did a whole segment.
I saw that.
He did a whole segment on it, and it was months and months to get even minor surgeries. And imagine what a life or death surgery would take you. You'd die waiting.
Yeah. So basically, under that system you're still going to die. You're just going to die broke because they're taxing the hell out of you.
Because you paid 75% of your income into taxes.
Right.
It's so crazy, and liberals don't think about things like that. And when you ask them, they just call you a racist or a bigot or a Nazi or somebody who doesn't care about the health and well-being of somebody else because you're a cold-hearted person that can sit back while everybody else dies. I'm like, I'm none of those things. I care about people. I give to charity when I can, but I shouldn't be forced to. Nobody should be forced to pay charity to anybody. Nobody should come up, when you put a government gun in my face, as Ben Shapiro likes to put it, when you put the government gun in my face and take my money, that's when I have a problem.
Yep.
But, all right, we had a little bit longer of a talk than even expected. Go ahead and plug the album and stuff right quick so everybody listening, and I'll make sure and put the information in the description too. So go ahead and plug away. Let them know where they can look at it, where they can get to it, downloads, whatever.
Yeah, sure thing. So go to iconokee.com. That's ICONOKEE.com. And my entire catalog is there from, I want to say, about 2014. You can find me on Parler at iconokee. And, follow me on Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. I've got a channel on there. and everything is just under Icon Okee. You can Google it, Bing it, DuckDuckGo it, whatever you want.
All right. I'll put the information in the description so that everybody can see the links, because nobody likes to listen and think no more. They just want to click. So I'll make sure and put all that in there, and hopefully I can have you back on here in the future, and maybe closer to the election, maybe for some recap on the election, so we can laugh at some people that are upset because Trump got reelected.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
All right. You have a good day, man, and I look forward to having you back on anytime.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
And again, that was Icon Okee, and you can catch him on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Parler, all the main social media pages. Make sure you go add him and keep an eye on what he's got going on. It's always great to have fellow conservatives and see what their perspective is, because not every conservative thinks the same way, obviously. So, in other news now, the cancel culture, we spoke about that. Me and Icon Okee spoke about the cancel culture, and it has been in full effect for the last few years. I mean, you got Goya Foods, My Pillow, but the latest to be targeted is a horrible choice for the cancel culture to choose, both on a moral level and on a common sense level. They have now targeted Beethoven. No, not the lovable dog from the 90s movie, the classical composer and the musical genius that is Beethoven. For the last some 200 years, Beethoven has been regarded as some of the greatest composed music in history. Okay, his Ninth Symphony, which concludes with the Ode to Joy, is the most well-known, most used piece of classical composition in history. Okay, it's been said that Beethoven's symphonies were the symbols of the struggle for freedom against tyranny. Ode to Joy, especially, was the definitive anthem of universal brotherhood. But now the woke left and the BLM mob have decided that Beethoven's symphonies are now, quote-unquote, the symbol of racism in America. I mean, again, I say this all the time. People probably get tired of me saying it, but you can't make this stuff up. You couldn't write better stuff. Musicologist Nate Sloan and a songwriter, Charlie Harding, whoever they may be, told Vox Beethoven is to blame, quote-unquote, for the stuffy, elitist classical culture that bolsters the rule of the white male and suppresses the voices of women, blacks, and LGBTQ community. What? I mean, seriously, a man who composed music in the 1800s is now being canceled because he didn't, what? Include black people and the LGBTQAAIC, NAACP, ++DUFP, whatever the letters are nowadays. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, definitely in a long time. That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in definitely a long time. Maybe even ever. Seriously. Immortal Beloved. Do you remember that? Does anybody know that? That was a whole 10-page love letter to a woman describing and memorializing his love for her. And how he is stricken that he can't be with her. I mean, that is pretty uplifting of women, dum-dums. And as far as the LGBTQ alphabet gang goes, it's been largely discussed as to whether or not he was homosexual or straight. I mean, personally, I'm fairly certain he was at the very least bisexual. So, if that is the case, then that blows the alphabet bunch out of the ballpark of angriness. But they called this, quote, the soundtrack for white privilege. Oh, OMG. Okay? I can't even with you people. I'm at a loss here with the stupidity of you people. So on that note, that is all the time that we have for tonight. I'd like to thank you for joining me on the Johnny Ray Show. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, anywhere audio podcasts are available, as well as right here on the YouTubes. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In the near future, as I said before, I'll be setting up weekly special shows for subscribed listeners here on YouTube, so you won't want to miss out on all the uncut, unfiltered, all-access features. Until Monday, good night, and of course, as usual, God bless.